Aha! Here we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm Gavin Millard, I'm the Technical Director of Tenable. Who here's ever ran a Nessus scan? Woo-hoo! Yeah, okay, we make Nessus. Very well known for it. And as Javid said, the thing I'm going to talk about today, I should have been talking about stunt hacking, that would have filled the hall apparently, but I'm not. I'm actually going to talk about the business of security. So I've been in the industry for 18 years now, I think. I used to have to persuade companies to actually put firewalls in, which is a bizarre concept nowadays. You know, I can remember talking to them about IDS, and they were like, well, no, you know, we've not even got a firewall yet. It's like, holy shit, you're kidding me. So I've been in Tenable for a few years now, and my previous job as well as at a vendor. And a lot of the work that I do is really communicating with the C-level, so the CISO, CIO, working with them on how to build a good security program, how to communicate that security program to the business. Now, one of my annoyances that I have is vendors, as Javid said, like vendors create what they think executives want to see. Right? Go to any major product nowadays and they have their, this is the CISO report that you should be showing in front of the board. Bullshit. Right? Any vendor that tells you that they can create an executive dashboard is lying to you. Okay? The main reporting tool that any CISO uses is what? Sorry? PowerPoint every damn time. Or Excel even as well. And so I've been working on that quite a lot. It's all about, you know, how we communicate with the business, how we break out and actually talk in a different way to people that are outside of our industry. So, you know, why is this important? Well, Infosec is now in the news a lot. You know, so we've got big breaches. We've got these bugs that are hitting the news. You know, so I go on like ITV News at 10 talking about an open SSL vulnerability. It's crazy, right? You know, bong. You know, some Infosec dude's going to talk about open SSL vulnerability. You know, bong. You know, and then some terrorist did some shit. So it's quite weird. You know, we have breaches that are obviously very large and very unfortunate. The more unfortunate thing is quite often when the CEO of the business stands in front of the cameras and makes a total fool of herself or himself. You know, we see a lot of stunt hacking, as demonstrated by the fact that Track 2 is full. Stunt hacking is, you know, like this really, you know, popular thing. We have people that really care about their privacy now. You know, so many years ago when I talked about Infosec to people that were like, I have no idea what that is. You know, I talked about, you know, cybersecurity now. People really know about this stuff. They're really thinking about it. They really care about what's happening to their data. Then we have things like, IoT and ransomware, which people are really concerned about. You know, be it a light bulb or whatever they're hacking in Track 2 right now. You know, a light bulb or a kettle. You know, people really care about this stuff now because, you know, it's their consumer stuff. You know, you read about people finding out they're pregnant because of their Fitbit, that type of stuff, right? Obviously not me. And then, we hear about ransomware all the time now as well. I'm getting really bored of hearing about ransomware in the news. Ransomware to me just tells me that you're not good at security. Damn straight. Right? Basically, it just means you're not patched your stuff. Okay, let's move on. So, I think the main starting point for all this, you know, this interest in info security, came along April 7th, 2014. Everyone knows this logo, right? My mum knows this logo. No word of a lie, when Heartbleed hit, I used to have a text message on my slides. I took it out because my mum wasn't very happy. And you should never annoy your mum. My mum sent me a text message on April 7th, said, Gavin, I'm worried about this Heartbleed thing. We don't know if Dad and I are going to be affected by this. I've looked at your Twitters, I can't tell. Right, now, I know that I'm on Twitter solely to educate my mum and dad on security. But everyone was really concerned about it. Suddenly, like you had CEOs asking about an OpenSSL 101B vulnerability. It's crazy when you think about it, right? And unfortunately, when Heartbleed hit, really we had two different camps of people. Okay, we had the people that really knew their stuff. In fact, I was at a Tenable user group, and I had a guy from a very large bank speaking there on that morning, a guy called Amir Hadzipadzik. Awesome guy, right? And he's got a brilliant name. I love saying his name. It's really cool. And I said to him, mate, I can't believe you're here. I thought you'd be dealing with Heartbleed. He was like, no, it's fine. I know exactly where all my vulnerable systems are. I know exactly what the remediation plans are. I've tasked my team. They're going to address it. I estimate it's going to be patched in 2 days. Awesome. That's the answer people should have given. Yeah? Good old Amir Hadzipadzik. Unfortunately, that isn't the answer that many people got when they were asked the question, are we secure? When they were asked that question, and this is, the question that we all scoff at. We're like, how can you be secure? No one's 100% secure. Are you stupid idiot for asking me that question? The business doesn't want that answer. They want a different one. Unfortunately, as security, we've always answered that question either with hope and a handshake, as in, yeah, we've got this. It's cool. Don't you worry your pretty little head about this. The security stuff, we've got it. Or we say, you won't understand what we're talking about, so I'm not even going to tell you. Basically, it's hope and a handshake, right? We've got this security thing. Don't worry about it, okay? These are not the answers the business is looking for, right? When you're asked that question, are we secure? Giving them a fluffy answer is not the answer they're looking for. So, I'll give you an example. My wife works in marketing. Sorry. Marketing. God. But wife works in marketing. I get to do my slides. I don't really. She's rubbish at PowerPoint. And if the business says to her, if we give you $1 million, how many leads are you going to generate? How much business are you going to generate? She will have that stuff locked down cold. She'll say, for $1 million, the cost of acquisition is X, Y, Z. The cost of lead is this. The pull through is this. The conversion rate is this. I'll generate $30 million worth of business. Okay, that is the answer that the business is looking for when they ask questions. Not, don't worry about it. We've got this. So, rather interestingly, we're supposed to be good at this stuff, right? We're supposed to be telling people the things that they want to hear in ways that they want to hear. We're supposed to be good at social engineering, right? We're supposed to be able to mimic people and be able to hide in public sight. But we suck at it when it comes to business. Right? We appear to be terrible at it. Come in, sir. I'm just insulting social engineers. We seem to really suck at it when it comes to being able to communicate with the business. Right? When we're asked the questions, we don't mimic the business. Okay, we stay in our little echo chamber. We're like, oh, don't worry, we're not going to understand this stuff. Okay. So, little pop quiz to start us off. What does this stand for? Okay, right, what's really interesting is a few of you got it wrong. I'm not going to say who. But we use these words all the time, right? And we do it in a way that people don't, outside of our echo chamber, don't really know. We do it in articles. We do it in everything we write about. I'm really, really careful whenever I write a quote for the media that I don't use buzzwords. I'm sure if you've ever read any of my comments, you think, you dumbass, you're supposed to say SOC 5 proxy here. I know it's SOC 5 proxy. No one else does though, right? So I don't use those words. What's this? Yeah, right. The reason I put open source intelligence up here is because when someone first started talking to me about this, I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, you're just talking about the stuff you do before trying to break into something, right? But you use a buzzword and we don't get it. Okay, what's this? Anyone? Nope. Nope. Right, so this is really interesting, right? Not one person knows what this is. No. Stop guessing. You're not going to get it. You're never going to get it, right? So, we're talking about, XFR, all these different buzzwords. We're not the only people to have buzzwords, right? That's a marketing one, customer acquisition cost, okay? And this is a really important one for marketing, right? So marketing always talk about CAC. What's the customer acquisition cost, right? Is it going to cost us $500 to get a new customer through the door, $5,000, whatever? And they think about it in this way. By the way, they never talk about CAC outside of marketing. This is why you've never heard of it. I've heard of it because I married a marketing person, okay? They know how to communicate outside of their echo chamber. A lot of us don't. What's this one?
Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization.
Good man! Good man, you can have some chocolate. So this one is a business one, okay? People care about this stuff. Basically, how much money am I making? Okay. So when it comes to security, I'm going to quote Richard Branson. Some people think he's a bit of a moron. In reality, he's a billionaire, so he's probably done something right, okay? Complexity is your enemy. Any fool can make something complicated. It's hard to keep things simple. Basically, one of the things that we do in IT security is we try to be the smartest person in the room, okay? I'm sure none of you are like this, but trust me, after speaking with IT security people for 15 years, I'm used to the pissing contest, right? I walk in a room, I'm used to the pissing contest, okay? Now, I have ways of dealing with the pissing contest. In fact, I'll let you know, right? So I have a little secret. If I walk into a meeting and I have a pissing contest with a prospect, with a customer, whatever, I win every time, okay? Oh. I win every time. I drop CVE numbers like crazy, right? It works every single time. CVE 2014-5119. Okay, that was the hacking group Flash vulnerability. Okay, someone look it up, it'll be right. Okay, drop CVE numbers when you're in a pissing contest, you will win, I guarantee it. Okay, but anyway, that is not the point. The point is that we try and be the smartest person in the room. We all have egos, like people like Javad, for example, like big egos, right? We all have egos. Big ego for a small person. We all have egos. And we all try to be the smartest person. In reality, oh yeah, thank you, yeah, get the red card. In reality, the smartest person in the room is the person that is simplified down so everybody understands it. I was in a presentation at a very large telecom quite a few years ago, start of my vendor career. And walk in, there's a load of techies in there, there's a couple of business guys, right? And we were talking about file integrity. I used to work for Tripwire. And so I knew everything about file integrity, right? Hash clashes, all this type of stuff. And I'm sitting there talking to these techies and they were firing questions at me, right? And I was like knocking them back. I was awesome meeting, the kind of thing where you're just like, damn straight, I'm good, right? It was that type of meeting, right? And I walk out of the meeting and the VP of EMEA that I was with, he said, how do you think that meeting went? I was like, oh man, bam! I knocked that out of the park, it was awesome. He was like, that was terrible. Okay, this is going to be painful. This is my new boss that I met only a month ago. Why do I suck? And he said, who were you talking to in that room? It's like, everyone. No, you weren't. You were talking to the techies that were asking you really cool questions. The one person that really cared about this stuff, the business guy, walked out halfway because you were talking about stuff he didn't understand. Okay? That is a bad outcome. Okay? And it's all about simplifying the messaging that we use to be able to communicate with that person. Because in reality, that person is the person that's going to sign the check to enable you to buy more security stuff. Okay? So the first thing we have to think about to be able to communicate effectively outside of our echo chamber is how do I actually measure security? Okay? Because if I can't measure something, I can't communicate it, I can't report it. So we have to do that. This is a good slide, right, Javad? You like this one? Thanks. Yeah, look at that. By the way, that's Wingdings. I think in the background it says something like making slides makes Gavin a dull boy or something. I can't remember now. But anyway, so for me, metrics are the Rosetta Stone of business communication. Okay? Marketing talk to sales in metrics. Sales talk to finance in metrics. Finance talks to the business, to the C-suite in metrics. Security need to do the same thing. Right? Social engineering. Mimic the people you're talking to. Okay? Instead of talking about DLP, cross-site scripting, all that type of stuff, metrics. That is the only way you should be communicating with the business. Because it's something that's quantifiable that they can understand. We'll talk about that more. Okay, so there's loads of good places to get metrics. So the cybersecurity framework, it's a NIST 853. It's a really good framework. Okay, but embedded within cybersecurity framework, there's loads of metrics that you can use. Steal them. By the way, if you've not looked into cybersecurity framework, it is coming, according to Gartner. Obviously, NIST paid them to say this. I'm sorry, I didn't say that really. By 2020, more than 50% of organizations will use NIST, basically using this framework and metrics, okay? So if you don't know about this stuff now, go and research it because it's going to land on your table in the next year or so. Okay, obviously we have SANS as well, okay? Embedded within every control of SANS, we all know SANS, right? Yes, Gavin, good. SANS gives you effectiveness metrics for each of the top 20 controls, okay? Some of them are shit, by the way. For example, one of the things that they say you should do for malware is count how many pieces of malware you've seen. Don't do that, that's a really bad metric. But they have some really good ones as well. Okay, and we'll talk about that towards the end. But they have some really good ones. All right, if you ask an analyst, people like Javad, who used to be 451. Now, if you ask like Forrester, as an example, and you say, what metric should I use? They always say, oh, metrics are all different for every different company. It depends on, who you're talking to. Bullshit, right? There's some really good foundational metrics that you can use. I'll give you an example of some towards the end. Okay, the next thing we have to ask ourselves to be able to communicate and to be able to talk outside of the echo chamber is how do I actually align what I'm doing with the business? Okay, so when I used to break into stuff, before I found tweed and wearing suits and having to stand up in front of people, when I couldn't communicate with anybody, when I lived in a broom cupboard, I used to find stuff wrong with the company that I was working for and other companies as well. And I'd say, this is really bad, you really need to sort this out. And I'd get ignored. I'm sure we've all experienced this, right? You find something really bad and nobody does anything about it. Happens all the time, okay? It's because we're not aligning what we're doing with the business, okay? One of my really good friends is a CISO of a massive financial institution. And I was talking to him a few years ago now, and we were chatting away, and I was talking about security risk, and I was like, yeah, we're trying to change our messaging to include security risk. And he just looks at me and he says, there is no such thing as security risk, there is only business risk. I was like, oh, wow, you are so right. If you're mitigating technology risk, if you're mitigating technical issues that aren't aligned to the business, you're doing the wrong thing. Okay? Don't patch something you don't care about. Let me give you an example. Who knows what this is? This is, by the way, is another one of my favorites that I drop in meetings. I'm giving you my secrets. MS 1468. Anyone? Huh? No. It's a Microsoft one.
I think is that the font buffer overflow or Steeler service?
Oh, you're pretty sharp, but you're wrong. So it was the vulnerability in Kerberos, right? So there was some really big vulnerabilities in 2014 from Microsoft. MS14, 62, 64, and 68. They're really bad ones. One of them was the S-channel vulnerability. There's some really bad ones. MS14, 68 was kind of like the worst, right? Basically, it gave anybody the ability to have any credential, and elevate their privileges to be domain admin. Okay? Really bad, right? In fact, when Kaspersky got hacked, this was the privilege escalation vulnerability that they used to be able to get root. Yeah. Right? They talked about APT and all this type of stuff. Actually, Kaspersky did a really good job of disclosing how the hack happened. I think that they were very, very good about it. Embedded though in their reports, it talked about the different vulnerabilities that were used. This one was used to elevate privileges. They got hacked in January. This was released in November. They hadn't patched their servers. Okay. Now, so it's really bad vulnerability, right? When this came out, I went to see one of my favorite retail customers, not far from my office. And I walked in, he's a brilliant guy, really, really smart security director. And I often go and have little chats with him. And I said, what are you going to do about MS1468? And he said, nothing. So it's really interesting. Tell me why. You're a smart guy. I trust why. Yeah, he's not just ignoring stuff. He's being smart about it. I said, why aren't you patching this? He's like, Gavin, it's end of November. If I cause downtime in our infrastructure, I will not have a job next year. So the risk of patching is higher than the risk of somebody using this to get into our infrastructure. Compensating controls, etc., etc. But in reality, he couldn't patch till January, February, okay? That is aligning security risk with the business risk. The business risk was significantly higher patching the vulnerability than it was to not patch. What?
Did you actually have metrics to back that up, or was that just a gut feel, or was it?
Great question. It was gut feel. Yeah? Because...
It goes against what you were talking about metrics.
No, because I'm talking about measuring... we'll get there, Javid. Yeah, don't worry. I knew I shouldn't have given you crap. No, metrics are all, being able to have the visibility of this is really important. Making the decision on what to do about it sometimes isn't metric driven, right? So, if you look at this vulnerability from a CVSS scoring perspective, this was a 10. Right, this was a really bad one. It's remotely exploitable. You don't have to be on the same network. Blah blah blah. Right, it's a really, really bad one. But he had the foresight and the visibility of his infrastructure to know that patching this could cause him problems. Therefore, he's not going to patch. Okay. Now, obviously, if they got hacked, he would have been fired. But it was a good thing to do. Okay. Now, my favourite bit, though, and this is really what the main focus is how do I then communicate this information to the business? Okay. So first off, how not to do it. Right. I work for Tenable. We created Nessus with Renault. Right. Renault Durason created it when back in 1997. He was 17, by the way. Makes me feel like I've not accomplished anything. He created a brilliant tool. Right, we've all seen Nessus reports. Big ass long report. Okay. I've seen organizations have these in their inbox as something that they should action. Here, operations, deal with this for me. No problem, don't worry. No one noticed. These reports go unopened and actioned, right? Don't do this. When it comes to reporting, putting a 300-page security report in someone's inbox is pointless. Nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to do anything about it. Pointless. right? For me, I always talk about, tell me the 5 things that I need to fix, not the 5 million things I shouldn't, okay? So don't give a 300-page security report, even though we're one of the companies that creates massive reports, okay? So we're told that what we should do to be able to communicate with business is to have happy face, sad face, right? I've seen, other vendors talk about this. It's massively insulting. Some of the smartest people I know are CEOs of businesses. Like some of the smartest guys and girls I know are CEOs of big companies, right? You meet them, they are really impressive people. They know their shit. In fact, I was talking to the CEO of a massive vendor, security vendor, and we were having a bit of a laugh about how rubbish antivirus is. And I said, oh, antivirus, it's terrible. We shouldn't create something because it's the same as everyone else's antivirus. And he said to me, Gavin, 99% of organizations have antivirus. It's a good thing because we'll make lots of money, right? They see things in a different way, but he's right. They think about money, but they're not stupid, okay? So putting a happy face, sad face in front of them is the quickest way to A, lose your credibility, and B, get fired. Do not listen to anyone that tells you happy face, sad face. Okay? As I said, what we need to be doing is communicating in a way that CEOs understand. Now, I've been quite lucky to be senior in organizations, right? And I get the executive report packs. I get the monthly metrics of the organization. I see it from marketing, from finance, from sales, from all the different business units, okay? All of it is metrics. Now, Brad, our VP of IT, he does the same thing, right? He knows that it's the only way that will fit into this is communicating metrics as well. So let's give an example, right? Let's say that marketing give you some really good metrics on all the different parts of the sales process, and then your piece of the metric pack is either a happy face, sad face, or a 300-page report. Okay, the happy, which is sad face, exactly. Okay, so this is how I do security reporting. Now, one of the things that I'm quite fortunate to be able to do is talk to a lot of CISOs, right? And after I get to know them, I often say, show me your dashboards, show me your report, show me what you communicate to the business. They generally suck, okay? In fact, our mutual friend that's a twin of myself, he showed me his report back. His was actually really quite good because he got a marketing guy to help him with all the graphics. And most of them suck though. Now, I challenged a CISO a few months ago and I said to him, show me your dashboard. And he said, show me yours. If you were going to go in front of the board and talk to them, how would you communicate security? I was like, it's a really good point. I always ask people, I never show. So I created this. Right? Took me probably about an hour to do that. Okay? I'm pretty good at PowerPoint, by the way, but yeah, it took me about an hour to do this. Okay, so let's look at this for a second. Right. By the way, so I've got top line metrics, the top things at the top, and then operational metrics. Okay? So top line metrics, by the way, top line metrics will change for organizations. So, I often ask businesses, what's your top line metric that you use for security, to measure security? And it could be the amount of money lost due to fraudulent activity. That's BNP Paribas' main metrics. Great one. It's difficult to measure, but it's a great one. You talk to an online retailer. It's the amount of downtime caused by a security event, or the amount of accounts compromised, or whatever. The top line metric is top line metric that suits your business. So for me, I had to be a little bit more generic. Security incidents. How many security incidents occurred that led to data loss? By the way, when you measure security incidents, measure data loss. Okay? I don't care if you've got malware, right? You're going to get malware. Okay? I don't care if somebody if somebody port scanned your network. You're going to get port scanned, right? Doesn't matter, it's an irrelevance. What really matters is the amount of data lost, okay? Then I also want to measure security activity. So how much downtime is security actually causing within the infrastructure? Because that really matters, right? We need to know that security are doing stuff, but we also need to know that they're impacting the business in some way. Because I can make an infrastructure really damn secure, right? You won't be able to do anything on it, but I can make it really secure. I can patch everything really quickly, but it's going to cause downtime. Okay, so we need to have that balance in there to be able to report on it. And then the operational metrics, I like to use these operational metrics. Okay, there's lots and lots of different operational metrics, and you can actually kind of exchange them in and out. And but for me, these are some of the really good ones. So talk to me about compliance, right? How much of my infrastructure is complying to our best practices? You know, be it either PCI, be it CIS configuration assessment, you know, be it whatever, it doesn't matter. But let's measure that, okay? Then let's measure visibility. How much of my infrastructure am I actually checking for weaknesses? This is a really important metric. Because when you're standing in front of the board and you say, oh, we only have 5 vulnerabilities, and say, yeah, that's great. How much of the infrastructure have you checked though? And you go, I don't know. Your credibility's gone. Okay? You need to measure how well you're doing on this type of stuff. Then remediation, how much of the infrastructure has had the biggest vulnerabilities patched in a timely fashion? Okay? So, percent of internet-facing assets receiving patches to critical bugs in less than 7 days. That is a really good metric. By the way, that's a SANS metric. All these are SANS metrics. And then prevention, percentage of systems with up-to-date antivirus, or DLP, or whatever control you want. Percentage of systems that are protected by the firewall, whatever you want, okay? But I put AV on there because, well, people keep using it still. So for me, these are really good cyber hygiene metrics, right? If you measure this stuff, if you walk into a meeting with anyone in in a senior level, and you put this stuff in front of them and say, hey, this is how well I'm doing at security, this is where we need to drive improvement, you're going to have a very different conversation with them. Okay? I noticed that our visibility is low. What can we do about that? You're giving them something that they can actually have a conversation about. We're not talking about cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, SQL injection vulnerabilities, all these type of things that they don't understand. We're talking about metrics that they do understand that they can quantify. So this is the next level down, right? This is the type of thing that we need to be communicating. Okay? So, by the way, percentage is a really good way of hiding bad stuff, right? 50% of our systems have been patched. It's like, well, our infrastructure is huge. It's 10,000 systems, probably, 5,000 of them haven't been patched at all. So it's a really good way of hiding stuff. So you take it to the next level and you actually break it down. Now, I love to break things down by people ownership. Okay, so let's say Javad and I work together in a company, and he works for the UK office, I work for the American office, and we have these metrics, right, that we measure the effectiveness of security. Okay, this month I kicked Javad's arse on visibility and patching. Okay, what's Javad going to do next? He's going to work his little tush off to try and beat me next month. Right? It drives behavior. Okay? If you can quantify it, if you can measure it, if you can then assign ownership to it, it drives behavior. Okay? So if we have the right metrics in place, we can improve overall security easily by assigning ownership. Let me give you an example. Right, so I used to work for Tripwire, another vendor, and I did an off-book project. Basically, I used my corporate credit card to hire a developer to create a new product. Fraudulent, yes. A little bit bad, but I wanted to achieve something. So I was a bit bored. I knew a business intelligence developer. I chucked a few $1,000s at him, and he came in and worked with me to create some dashboards using Rombi. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like an awesome visualization tool on an iPad. And I said to him, I want these metrics put into this platform. So he came in and he did it. Okay, and I gave him some sample data, and then I added for each of the compliance for each of the areas, I added ownership. So Jim, the CEO, I put down as owning the corporate network. Alex, the sales guy, anything that has customer information on. Kevin, the professional services and support guy, like the estate. I can't remember what it was, right? But I added ownership to these things. I then sent an iPad over to America to the CEO and said, open this up, click this, play with this dashboard, let me know what you think. By the way, can I have $5,000? And so the first thing that they said, it was the sales guy, the VP of sales, first thing he said was, the thing I don't like about this dashboard, Gavin, is the fact that I'm at 60% and Jim's at 80%. It's made up fake data, right? But that's the way people think. Yeah, they're really competitive. A lot of people are competitive. So, adding ownership and assigning names is a great way of driving behavior. So what's the most important thing on this slide? Action. Close.
I was going to say your trend line.
You like my trend line? It's a good trend line.
Because it didn't start particularly well.
Yeah. So, the trend line's good, right? It's good. But action points. We need management sponsorship to ensure all operational teams have granted access. Okay? If you want to see this improve, if we don't want to have a sad face next month when I walk in, I need you guys to support the work and help me have access. Okay? Okay, Gavin, no problem at all. We'll help you with that. That's what the business wants, right? Tell them what the problem is, ask for help, set the tone at the top, drive behavior. Okay, by the way, if you suck at PowerPoint, there's ways of cheating. Okay? Many people don't have PowerPoint skills. By the way, I've seen lots of presentations, cons. People suck at PowerPoint. They're often a car crash. And if you do suck at PowerPoint, there are ways of cheating. So I worked on a whole project called infographic security. Pretty punny, right? But infographic security, and it was all about using infographic tools to be able to create these reports. So this is an infogram. And this took me, with the data, on a Google spreadsheet, your Google Sheets, 5 minutes. I did it a couple of days ago, okay? Just to get this screenshot. Took me literally 5 minutes. Here's my metrics, okay? Here's the Excel spreadsheet that I always use. Just dropped infogram, boom, there we go, okay? So as you mature in your roles, or as you are now, communicating in a way that resonates with the business is a really important thing. Visualization. Notice my slides as an example. They're really simple, slick. That's how you need to communicate. Okay? Not bullet points. Right? If you're copying and pasting into a PowerPoint slide, you're doing it wrong. Okay? I have a rule that my fonts should never be less than 30 points on a PowerPoint slide. Right? So, if you suck at PowerPoint, use Infogram. It's like $10 a month or something. Okay? If you've got a CISO that's creating these metric packs for reporting, drop them into a tool like this. Suddenly people care, right? You think about, most of us use Twitter. The stuff that gets tweeted the most are visual things. Yeah? If I post an infographic or a picture or something like that, man, I get loads of tweets. Like my biggest tweets, I can remember I spent 5 minutes creating, the Homer Simpson with the 0, how many days since an accident, and I said how many days since an SSL vulnerability, and it had 0 on there because obviously there was loads a couple of years ago. That got retweeted like 500 times. Yeah, Say something insightful, everyone ignores you, right? So, people are visual. Use tools like this to be able to communicate in a way that really resonates with them. Now, why is this really important? Okay, Warren Buffett, he knows his stuff. He's another billionaire. I've noticed I've quoted like 2 billionaires. I have no idea why, but they know what they're doing in business, okay? And Warren Buffett, I don't invest in things I don't understand. This is very true of the business, okay? People invest in stuff that they feel that they can touch, that they can understand, that they can quantify, that they know. And so by us being techies and talking about cross-site scripting, people don't invest in fixing it because they don't understand it. Okay? So being able to talk in this way really helps us. Being able to communicate in a way that resonates with the business really helps us, because if you don't get investment, security fails. If you don't get money, you can't do stuff. You can't do important stuff. And so it's really important that we do think about this stuff. I know it's kind of like a little bit marketing-y, right? It's a bit like, oh man, I gotta, that guy from Tenable, he's talking about making my slides a bit flashy when I'm talking in front of people. This shit matters, right? Trust me, I sit in front of people talking about millions of dollars worth of investment. My slides are slick as hell when I'm doing that, okay? Because people are visual, they understand this stuff, and if I don't have that money, I can't do good things. It's the same whenever you're going to the business to ask for money, to ask for budget. Imagine, like, let's say, Javad and I are working together again. We decided to work together again. The first time was a mistake, but this time it's going to be different. And he goes up and he says, I need a new firewall. Why do you need a new firewall? Because it protects the network. It's going to stop people from being able to come into my network. Okay, fine. Thank you, Javad, for that insightful comment. And then I come in and I say, we need X, Y, Z, because at the moment this is how effective we are at security. By the way, if we have this investment, this is how effective we're now going to be, and actually be able to demonstrate that in a clear, concise way. Maybe even by an infographic, if I'm feeling a little bit frisky that morning, maybe just by some slides, they'll invest in me. Okay? Basically, to sum it all up, communicate like a suit. Okay? It's really difficult, right? Trust me, I used to be a huge introvert, right? My favorite thing to wear was an Oracle t-shirt. Okay, I thought I was the nuts walking around with a red Oracle in a white t-shirt. And I had long hair. Give me a minute. I had long hair. I was a massive techie, right? Huge techie. I used to break in stuff. It's all cool, but I didn't communicate with the business at all. Okay. I took a step back. When after that massive, horrible meeting where the VP of my company told me that I sucked, I took a step back and said, how could I be doing this better? This was the answer. Okay. With that, if you have any questions, by the way, follow me on Twitter. If you don't, I know you do. Thank you. You just clicked on it. Yeah, you were looking for Javad. Yeah, it's J4VV4D. I know it's difficult, but yeah, I know. Yeah. He does that to look leet. I know. Yeah. Ping me an email. I'm going to be around till about 2:00 as well. Outside. Come and ask me any questions. But before we wrap up, does anyone have any questions they want to ask in front of all these other people? Yes?
What tool sets would you recommend to get the metrics in the first place?
Tenable, thank you. Thank you for that question. That was awesome. No, in reality, it doesn't matter what tools they are as long as you can surface this information easily. I always say that an expensive firewall configured badly is just as good as a cheap firewall configured well. Okay, so it doesn't matter to me what tools you use, Now, in reality, what you're doing is you're getting like the key piece of information out these tools, and then you're just using Excel to manipulate the data. So obviously, me working for Tenable, I've been banging on this for a very long time, and we do surface this stuff really easily, right? We've got what we call an ARC, Assurance Report Card, marketing, Assurance Report Card, which does surface this information really easily. But lots of vendors are moving towards having metrics within their products, okay? Now, you have to be really careful, though, because some vendors think that some metrics are good. They're wrong, right? So, as an example, AV tools think that counting how many pieces of malware they've caught is a good metric. It's a terrible metric, okay? Let's say you caught 50,000 pieces of malware last month. Yay, right? Well done. Okay, you've caught 48,000 this month. What does that mean? Nothing. Right?
Hang on a minute. That's not necessarily true.
I said nothing.
Yeah, but I said I wasn't going to have you, but I'm going to. Right. So if you're reporting that you've got 50,000 last month, and you're using that as the basis of, we've identified that those 50,000 have all come in through the same mechanism, or the majority of them have come through the same mechanism. Yep. Then surely there's a point in time when that metric becomes useful.
So, from an operational perspective, yes, I agree. From like a security guy perspective, that's a perfectly valid thing to do, right? Of the 50,000 pieces of malware that come in, what was the main vector of attack? By the way, it'll be Flash. What was the main vector of attack? Right? Uninstall Flash. But it was the. I've done well not to rag on Flash today. Adobe PR are probably very happy. So I agree with you. It's a really good metric, right? Which vector has been leveraged the most to be able to infect our systems, and how big is that infection? That is a good metric, right? It's a bit like vulnerabilities. Don't count how many vulnerabilities. I don't care if you have 5 million vulnerabilities and it's irrelevant, but tell me the distinct different vulnerabilities, vulnerability types, web app, for example, how many web app vulnerabilities, how many coding errors, how many configuration issues, those type of things are quite good metrics. But actually just reporting on the amount of malware caught is really bad, okay? Because if you're at 50,000 last month, you're at 48,000 this month, have you just missed 2,000? Have you got the same amount of assets on the network? Is it because there's less malware? There's not going to be less malware, right? So what does that mean? Have I made improvement? It's an immeasurable thing. It's pointless. Okay, so be careful when you're looking at which products to use and what metrics that you can get out of those products, because R&D creates stuff that they think will work in the real world. Often they don't. Okay, so for me, go to SANS. SANS have the best ones, I think, right? Go to SANS. That, by the way, metric of measuring malware is one of the SANS ones. I told you that some of them suck. Go to the SANS, have a look at each effectiveness metric and pull out the ones for each control that you want, okay? And then use your products that you have to try and surface that data, okay? Yeah?
Just on that metric sucks.
Yeah.
We generally split into two metrics. One is the metric that's actionable.
Yep.
So this is the metric that actually drives an action.
Yep.
On my other metrics, which includes that metric,
yep.
This is the metric that generates my budget.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, people do use that, right? So, I did a research paper with Branson. Basically, if you ever read in the press, 58% of people said this. It's quite often Branson that have done that. And so I asked them to do some research for me, and one of the questions was, what metrics do you use to measure security? That was the top metric. Okay.
It's a terrible metric.
Terrible.
Actually, when I'm talking to the board,
yeah.
It's the number they want to know about because they want to know.
Yeah.
Can I reduce my security budget?
Yeah, and it's
actually this is simple. Bad people exist.
Yeah. It's an unfortunate reality, right? So, for me, like, how many ransomware attacks have we had is actually probably a better metric now, because that is something that is really quantifiable and identifies that you've got poor cyber hygiene that needs to be improved. In fact, I sat down with I always have metric conversations with CISOs that I talk to, and I went and talked to a massive infrastructure, part of the critical national infrastructure, And I said to him, what metrics do you use? He said, before I tell you, I'm going to tell you what metrics I inherited. I was like, okay, cool, yeah, go on then, go ahead. And he said that metric, measure the amount of malware. And he said, we also used to measure the amount of events seen in our SIEM, right? Which is, by the way, another really bad metric. Don't do that. Okay, so he went and reported to the CEO, literally to the CEO of this multi-billion-dollar company, a huge company. I can't say who it is, a very large company, and he went and reported to the board, and he put it in front of them and said, these are the metrics for this month. And they went, hang on a minute. The amount of events has gone down from last month. Why? And he was like, I have no idea. It's a really dumb metric. But he had to, while he was trying to bring his new metrics in, he had to actually fill his SIEM with junk to make sure that it was always going bottom left to top right. Okay? Quite interestingly, he also told me that his report for the piece of malware, he got pulled up on it because 2 months in a row he had exactly the same amount caught by Symantec. Okay, like 48,392. 1 month, 14. Same the next month. And the CEO of this multi-billion-dollar company went, "That's impossible. What's happened?" And he got a roasting for it. It's like, oh man, I hate this metric anyway, and I'm getting crap for it. So be careful what you surface. If that works for you, keep on going. I mean, if that's one of your top line metrics, that's awesome. Put it up in the top corner.
It's a number we recall of the board level. We don't recall that metric, but it's for information.
Yeah.
This is
FYI.
Invest in security.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Great feedback. Yes.
Are there any recommendations or specific? So you've been talking about metrics and reporting mostly for service-oriented company. What if the main product of the company is some kind of product? So in my experience, it was harder to communicate security investments in the product-oriented company.
Yeah.
So usually, high-level management asks what product features we will get for implementing security, and usually security does not bring any features.
Yeah, and that's a whole subject for another talk, right? I think that's a really painful thing. I personally think that we are moving towards minimal shippable security, right? Where it's no bells and whistles. We can't afford to do that anymore. It's like literally minimal shippable security. Okay, there are many big security vendors that don't realize they're going to die in the next 5 years, because people will not be spending $500,000 on a firewall. Okay. This is pointless. Let's just put a filter in there. It doesn't matter. You use IP tables, IP chains, whatever, right? I'm showing my age there, but let's just put a filter on. For me, measuring the value of security is really difficult, especially in something that's an organization that's just shipping products, right? In reality. Oh my goodness, I got a red card. Right, in reality, you look at IoT is a really good example of where security fails. You've got cheap, quick, secure. You can have two of them. People always go cheap and quick and always ignore secure. And so it's a tough thing, and we'll have to wait for another day because I've been told that I've had to finish. Right, thank you very much.